They don't need the bourbon at the end of the day. They don't need to buy the more and more things to fill that void. If you came to me today to work with me and you were a cigarette smoker, I wouldn't tell you to stop smoking. I'd go, for now, keep smoking until we do the work that is underlying why you go to a cigarette. We're not there yet. You can skip ahead and go to nicotine gum, but the chances of you sticking with that are pretty slim. Same with junk food and everything else. So I look at it as sort of in this umbrella of like, these are a hit of excitement that is filling a void. And when you can actually fill the void for real, you don't need that stuff as much.
Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of TMC, where we are here to help you take your relationships from surviving to thriving.
And if this is your first time joining us, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any amazing episodes.
Today on TMC, we have an amazing guest, Mr. Sid Garza-Hillman, with Small Steps to a Successful Life.
Well, I'm first of all happy to be here, and thanks for having me. I do a lot of things. Nutritionist, small steps coach. That's my own specific approach to health and happiness. I'm a running coach. I direct an ultramarathon trail run. Wow. I have written 3 published books and head up a wellness center at a resort here in Mendocino, California. Met my wife when we were at UCLA. We got married in 94. Mm-hmm. We were in LA for about 20 years total and finally just couldn't take it anymore. So we moved to this little town right on the Northern California coast and been here for about 15, 16 years now. I am excited to see my kids every morning. And I have 12-year-old twins. Uh-huh. And a 17-year-old daughter too. But the twins, because they were babies more recent, there was this moment, every morning we wake up and they would stand up in their cribs, and we walk in and it was like this thing. And they kind of jump in bed with us. They come and say hi. It's still kind of that thing, uh-huh. And I really, really love that. And I love getting up in the morning and saying hi to my kids and my wife and just kind of getting the morning going. And I really enjoy that. And then I do something crazy every morning, which is I get into a cold tub. I've been doing cold therapy for about a little over 4 years, every day, literally every single day, except for one day I missed a couple months ago, but I missed only. Anyway, it's a 39-degree cold water tub. And I get in there and I do my breathing and I calm down and I kind of deal with that. And then I start my day.
Wow.
Yeah. It's fairly well studied and more studies are coming along. It falls under the general subject of what's called hormetic stress, which is a lot of work is being found that when we put our bodies into smaller amounts of stress, not so much that, if you stay in a cold tub for a very long time, you're going to get hypothermia, right? So if you do little things, and exercise is a hormetic stress, heat sauna, that's a hormetic stress. Intermittent fasting, which is everybody's into, that's a hormetic stress. Little momentary pushes into stress trigger adaptations in the body. They are anti-inflammatory. They are strength. The body strengthens. There's a lot of anti-aging science going on at Harvard. This guy who's doing a lot of good work at Harvard, he very much focused on this hormetic stress kind of model, dipping in and what that does, and almost on an evolutionary scale to the body and strengthens it and things like that. So I found it to be also just really mentally, it's like a little challenge I do every day. I dread it. And then I'm glad I did it every single day. So it's just a little exercise I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
You used the term little things. Let's talk about the 6 truths.
My newest book this year called Six Truths. Live by these truths and be happy. Don't and you won't. That was purposefully snarky, but whatever. Anyways, and so don't and you won't. Anyways. A lot of my work early on was as a nutritionist, health coach. It's my first book, definitely. And then it was called Approaching the Natural, a health manifesto. I was very much in that world as I was working with clients and realizing that they weren't able to stick with my recommendations nutritionally. And I realized, oh, wait, this is a bigger picture than food. This is about habit change. This is about empowering people to the tools to really take control over their lives. And then as I progressed and really thought about these things, my background, my bachelor's degree is in philosophy from UCLA. So I always kind of brought this kind of, let me just look at this and with a little bit of perspective. I realized this is not even that people want to be healthy. I think they want to be happy first and foremost. And then under that umbrella, I think health is a major player in the happiness picture. So when I went to write my 3rd book, 6 Truths, it's really about happiness. It's that no matter what you individually choose to do to make yourself happy. I think as humans, we're designed, we want to seek joy and love and happiness. And I think that I wanted to distill, in my experience of working with people for years now, these down into very simple, attainable, and understood truths of that if you follow these things and kind of infuse these kinds of ideas into your life, you'll live a more fulfilling and happy life day to day. I just realized, like, every client who's come to me for weight loss or whatever it's like, if you ask them for 5 more seconds, why? It's not really about the weight. It's that they want to be healthy and happy and vibrant, and they want to spend more time with their families, and they want to travel. All those things that are real for us as humans, I wanted to get in touch with on that book.
Because you mentioned the habits, and I realize that's a big issue with me, going back to those old habits. I mean, what are something, just really getting to the conversation, even starting there, those little steps that we can take right now, something that I can do to help me, move forward and grant success.
Yeah. You have, this is what I try to get clients attached to, which is that you have an idea of things you want to do in your life, and health is a tool to get you there. That, to me, when you can attach yourself to that kind of thing, it makes the establishment of habits a little bit easier. If people are looking at a scale weight, they're going to burn through their willpower. They're going to do on a diet. It's going to be a nightmare. They'll lose the weight, then they'll gain it back almost 100% of times. But if they can attach it to there's stuff I want to do. I want to do more work. Then I think it's a lot easier. I run a program called Small Steppers, because every single one of my clients that has ever come to me, I have an online program and I have a private coaching model. They're all under my umbrella of small steps. Now I'll boil it down in a nutshell. I use what I call awareness-based habit change. And what I am teaching people to do before I coach them on anything to do with food or exercise or anything else, that I'm a breathing coach. None of that. I don't even tackle that stuff. I want them to understand the system of how to maintain their stress, so that while they are bringing in new activities, they're not burning themselves out. So I'm going to tell you something that is not a joke. I started a woman off a few years ago. I was working with her. She was 400 pounds, morbidly obese, and years of yo-yo dieting and eating junk food 3 times a day. Intelligent woman. So it wasn't that I had to say, hey, junk food's not good. She knows. Right. So we worked out, and this is what I'm teaching clients. It's not the same for everybody, but for her beginning step of eating healthy, I am not joking you, was 1 stalk of celery per day with her dinner, with whatever else she was eating. And I made sure as a coach to say, I'm not going to comment on what else you're eating. We're not there yet. I got no problem. I want you to do the act of putting healthy food in your body. This is what I call the ethic of self-care. This is about kindness to yourself, treating yourself well in that way. So what it did is she, puts a stalk of celery on her plate. Then next night it was a couple of slices of pear, but it's the act, right? Now people go, what's that going to do? Well, it's about establishing the habit. Then you grow that habit. But what everybody does, what do they do instead? They go right to the diet. They change everything overnight and they get all excited, but it doesn't last. This is a way to back that up and say, let's make this last. Now, what I did for her 3 weeks later is I said, hey, can I ask you a question? She says, sure. I said, do you eat healthy food every day? And for the first time in 50 years, she said, I do eat healthy food every day. That's here now. This is starting the identification of that she has the power in her already to do that act. Then she grew it once it's established. But that's a different way of doing business. It's not as flashy. It's not as sexy as a diet, but it works because it lasts longer. And I apply it to myself every single day. I live by my own approach. Every day I'm writing a new book. I'm a small step in it. I'm making sure that I don't create expectations of I'm going to work for 10 hours a day and then fail at those and feel bad about it. I said, for the beginning of the writing of this book, my small step was opening the file once a day, not even to write, just the act of opening the file. And then I began, it was just on my radar. And then now I'm writing every day. And that's how I've worked with clients for years now. And it really is effective, but you always look over your shoulder at the person who's on the diet. They're going to get the weight loss way faster than you are, but yours is going to last and theirs isn't. And so you got to kind of back out of that whole comparison model.
Wow. I mean, amazing. Yeah, it definitely is. Cause I'm listening to you and you're definitely talking out the small steps that you talk about. Cause you said just 1 stalk of celery and then it's changing the mind that I do eat healthy. And you said establish the habit and then grow the habit. And I think that's profound in so many areas of our lives. It's just unlimited how it can help you to establish the habit and then grow the habit. Correct. That's the key to changing. Wow.
Yeah, I completely agree. And by the way, this is where I differ from other people who talk about small steps, because there are others out there. It's different for every person. So I will tell you the other extreme, which is that I had a client a few years ago who had cancer. Now that client said, I'll change my diet overnight. And for them, that was their small step because they weren't stressed about it. They had the motivation and the context of saying, go ahead. I got no problem here. They stuck with a supposed massive change because for them, in their minds, it was a small step for them. It wasn't a thing that was going to burn them out. I'm teaching people how to not burn out, but also not to stagnate. So they're always in this kind of like, maybe it's time for me to do more. Okay, I can feel myself burning out. Again, awareness-based habit change. They're very keen. They get to learn very keen how to manage their stress and be aware before it burns out, where they're, oh, okay, I've seen this before. I'm heading to burnout, right? I'm putting too much pressure on myself. I'm looking over my shoulder on Facebook. I'm all these kinds of, and then they back down and they do less for a while just so they can keep doing it. And then, like you said, Shante, they grow and they can grow that habit over time to wherever level they want to. That's not my business. That's theirs.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because I mean, I'm looking at that, somebody that's just trying to get their health together with, maybe no medical issues, then someone having medical issues, then someone having extreme medical issues that, that life is on the line. I mean, it definitely, I can see, the different levels and how that changed the significance of what the small steps look like. And that's right. So we talked a little bit about health because health is important. Also there's a lot of parents that's listening right now. And a lot of time in parenting, we're learning. And also, I believe there's different habits, may need to be set, as far as the parenting. I guess we can start here, some common mistakes or some common life choices that we make as parents.
That's a great question. And I'll first start by saying I'm 100% perfect as a parent. I just want to make sure you guys are clear on that. I've never made a single mistake about with parenting. No, and I think Cedric, that for me, and this is going to sound nerdy, I guess, as a health coach, but it comes down to how we take care of ourselves as parents, right? So my second book is called Raising Healthy Parents. The idea of that is, listen, to raise healthy kids, you got to raise yourself. You got to set the example, but also when you feel good. One criticism I got when that book came out, I got interviewed. It came out in 2017, I think, or 2018. And it said, they said, well, why do you have credibility to write a parenting book? Because I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a parenting expert. I said, well, it's not a parenting book. And they said, well, I thought it was. And I said, no, this is however you want to parent your kids in your best intentions. You do that better when you feel good, when your stress is managed. Again, it always comes back down for me under stress. When parents learn to manage their stress, they can execute whatever parenting style they have. I am the worst father in the world when I'm tired, stressed, underslept, overcaffeinated. I'm the best father in the world when I'm feeling great, sleeping well, exercising, eating well. So it hasn't changed how I want to parent. It's how I feel when I'm around my kids. So I'm not trying to teach somebody, here's how you can get your teenager to do their homework. I'm saying, spend time raising yourself. Carve out, again, here comes the small steps. Carve out whatever amount of time you can to self-care. It sounds weird because as parents, we always think we got to put our kids first. And my argument in that book is, I'm sorry, but that does not do them a service at all. You have to put yourself first, manage your stress, manage your life, and then you can execute the job of parenting better, however that is for you. None of us are perfect. My wife and I always joke, I'm like, we have good intentions. And that, I think, as a parent is the best. Like, my parents were definitely not perfect, but they had good intentions. I think that's the best that we can hope for. Like, we're trying to do the best, right? But I always joke with my wife, I'm like, gosh, I wonder what mistakes we're making. Like that we're going to hear about 10 years from now. We're not trying to make mistakes. We're trying to do the best we can. But of course, we are making mistakes because it's always trial and error because we've never done it before, right? But I still always say, for every parent, one thing to me rings true, which is we behave better in our lives when we feel better. And that's where I'm always going to come back to that kind of health, stress management part of that puzzle, which I think is missing for most parents.
It's so simple when you say it that way, and it just makes sense, because I think most of the time when I've had to apologize as a parent, I've been tired, I've been stressed or whatever. And it's like, that's when you say what you shouldn't say. That's when you respond how you shouldn't respond. And as you were talking about that, I just thought about, it's the same way in relationships, whether it's your marriage, your parenting, it is the same exact way. You respond. If your stress is high, you're going to respond in the wrong way. If you're, like you said, sleep deprived, over caffeinated, you just, everything is not going to come out right. But when you're in that good place yourself, so basically what I hear you saying to me now is, it starts with me. my parenting, my relationship, my marriage. It starts with me. Manage my stress and keep myself in a certain place and do that self-care. Then I could show up better as a parent. I could show up better as a wife. I could show up better as a human being, as a coworker, because I'm managing that stress. Wow. I'm just
I couldn't have said that better. And I will tell you that, my wife and I have been married 27 years. And I think part of my job as a good husband is to do stuff that is outside of the marriage. Go for a run, eat well, do breathing exercise. My wife doesn't do all the same stuff that I do. She does the things that give her pleasure. I want her to have things that are independent of us as well, because, and the irony, of course, is that it ends up being technically less time together. But it's better time together when we're together. So we could be together all. Yeah. Right. So you can spend all the time with your kids and say, I'm with my kids 100% of the time. But if you're irritable and you're looking over your shoulder because you go, yeah, I used to be a painter and I don't paint anymore. And I wish I could get back to music. And gosh, it's all about the kids. To me, it's all quality over quantity. I probably spend less time than other parents, but I spend good time for the most time with my kids in life.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the quality. So you have to sacrifice a little bit of the quantity of that to do the self-care. Then you come back in. Just what you said it better than I could say. You said a better wife, a better coworker, all those things work better. It's a simple way of looking at it instead of saying, well, my work life is completely different than my marriage life, and my marriage life is completely different than my parent. You go to one thing, which is learn how to take care of yourself. And then I think people already know well, I'll tell you right now, there was a specific client I remember that came to me to, guess what, talk about food. But in our work together, I realized one day she goes, I completely lost it with my kid. And it was this major source of stress for her. Why? She's not a bad parent, because she wasn't feeling well, those kinds of things. Right. Mm-hmm. So that was the inspiration of raising healthy parents. I thought, you know what, this woman, she doesn't need to read a parenting book. She doesn't feel good about the fact that she so-called lost it with her kids, because that's not who she is. She wants to be who she is. So I helped her get healthy so that she can, hopefully she's still doing the work, but when she's healthier, she can be that parent that she already wants to be and already is deep down. She just has to be able to let that person emerge into the world.
That's self-care. And I was even thinking about something like debt, because if you don't feel good about yourself, you tend to purchase things you can't afford to give you that feeling.
Fill the void.
You buy the car you can't afford, but you step out the car, it makes you feel a certain way when you get out. So you sacrifice debt for that feeling.
I talk about drugs a lot because I see things as drugs. I see lots of things as drugs, and I see them on a human hormonal level. And here's what I mean. I look at junk food. People go, oh, junk food's bad for you. The reason why we go to junk food, at least a lot, is to me, I'll put it this way. I've never told a client not to eat junk food. Mm-hmm. And I've never told them that junk food's bad for them, because they already know. Yeah. What I want to do is help them so they don't need the junk food as much. That's going back. So a diet says, wipe the junk food away. So they go, okay, no junk food. But why are they going to the junk food in the first place? Because they're not. I agree. And I've been here. I've lived everything I'm telling you. I've been there if I'm not there now. It's because there's some stuff missing from their lives that if they get those things in order, they don't need the cheese pizza at the end of the day every day. They don't need the bourbon at the end of the day. They don't need to buy the more and more things to fill that void. If you came to me today to work with me and you were a cigarette smoker, I wouldn't tell you to stop smoking. I'd go, for now, keep smoking until we do the work that is underlying why you go to a cigarette. We're not there yet. You can skip ahead and go to nicotine gum, but the chances of you sticking with that are pretty slim. Same with junk food and everything else. So I look at it as sort of in this umbrella of like, these are drugs. These are a hit of excitement that is filling a void. And when you can actually fill the void for real, you don't need that stuff as much. We like treats and breaks and it's fun. But if those things are every day, then our health starts to fail. Then our marriages are affected. Then our parenting is affected, right? So it's coming underneath. And I'm a health coach and I'm a small steps coach. When it gets into the realm of psychology with some clients, when they begin this work, some heavy stuff comes up on occasion. And here's what I do. I go, listen, go see a psychotherapist, because I'm not one of those. I will help you with a habit change. I will help you build the habits. But when things emerge because you're paying attention to your life for the first time, maybe all of a sudden I'm like, listen, you got to get support that way, because that's good. Now I can work with you on that way. You're getting support. And then, and it's kind of like this nice little package. I have a few clients that are in psychotherapy because that's effective for them to sort of go, where did these things come from? And then I come in and step and say, okay, now who are you really? Let's help that person. Like I said, we'll help that person live into the world more every day.
Wow. You are definitely freeing minds and setting thoughts free on today, because you said until we do the work, and you were talking about whether it's snacks. When you said that you see so many things as a drug, I'm like, oh wow, that's true. Because shopping can be a drug.
Oh, absolutely.
It can be a drug. It makes me feel good to buy a new handbag. It makes me feel good to buy some new shoes. So it's a drug. From what you're saying, until we do the work, is like, I have to dig into why I need that to make me feel good.
Yeah. It's levels, you know, like like I said, we like treats. Like I eat junk food on occasion, but if you're eating junk food every day, if you're smoking cigarettes, if you're drinking every day, if you're buying things all the time, then there's something that is, I think, is missing. And again, you know, one of the truths in my book, 6 Truths, is there's no substitute for hard work, and there never will be. So you know, I go in deep into that because I'm like, this is the work that I do with clients, like I said, is not sexy or flashy. It is a hard sell, because what I'm telling somebody is, I'm not going to help you lose 10 pounds in 21 days. That's not my business. I don't have any interest in that at all. What I want you to help you with is to take control over your life. And then you can apply it to how you eat, or apply it to how you exercise, or apply it to your marriage, or apply it to decluttering your home. People applied my approach to all sorts of weird places that you would never even, painting and drawing and music. It's the hard work of it. Like to live a good life is hard work. And I think we should embrace that. I don't think we should try to run from that. So you're both parents. I always joke when I do talks, I'm like, so we have kids because it's the easiest thing in the world, right? I mean, we get married because once you get married, you never have to pay attention to your marriage. Once you get married, you just phone it in for the rest of your life. No, everything of value in this world, I believe, takes work. And yet look at the marketplace of diets and quick fixes. They're trying to sell an idea that you can have happiness and fulfillment without the work. And it does not exist. The best ththings in our lives take time and effort and constant attention. My wife and I attend to our marriage for 27 years. There's never, well, I'll put it this way. The times we've had rocky roads, especially early on, is when we weren't attending to the marriage. And then we went, oh my God, wait, this is getting away from us. Let's get back. It wasn't because we didn't love each other. It's because we weren't spending enough time together. All the things we had to grab back and say no. Early on with our families, we had to say, we're not visiting as much anymore. It's affecting our marriage. We're going everywhere else, and we don't have our thing at home. And we took off, like we were married not even 5 years. We took off July. We were like, you know what? Don't even call us and ask us to visit you in July. With July, we go nowhere. We had no kids, and everyone was like, come over. We're like, fine, no, July. It's our July. Nobody touches our July. We needed a month, right? So you gotta grab it back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Generalizing it, what are some general things that we can do, general small steps that we can put into place in our lives right now to help us reach our great success?
Okay, so I have an exact answer for that. And that is a mantra that I've been using now for a few years that I apply to my own work. It's called mind first, body second. Mind first, body second. And it's exactly what Shante was saying, by the way. I just embodied it in that one little phrase, mind first, body second, which is before you do act one, even small stepping, before you do act one, ask yourself, here's what I do with clients, and your listeners can do this exact exercise. And I highly recommend it because it's kind of a mind blower. Here's the exercise. I call it the ideal idea. And what I tell my clients is, imagine that you have no idea what you're doing in your life. You have a blanket over your head. You have no idea where you're living, nothing. And somebody walks by and says, hey, Cedric, you are living your ideal, perfect life. What are you doing? And you write that down, and you write down as if it's happening. You don't say, I'm going to be a healthy eater. You say whatever. And again, I don't put words in people's mouths. So I want them to be on, and they go, I get it, but it usually takes like a good week because they kind of like, whoa, they've never asked these questions. So they might write, I live in, Florida, but they don't live in Florida in real life. They might say, I own my own law practice. And maybe they do own their own law practice. Some things they maybe, when the blanket comes off, they go, oh, I'm doing this. I don't need to improve that. But this, they might say, I run marathons, and they never run a day in their lives. I'm a famous rock musician, never play guitar. What are these? And they write down, and you should see the woman who was morbidly obese. She writes, I'm at a healthy weight. I have a healthy relationship with food. She writes these ideals down. And what that does is it allows people a very clear direction. And they're less apt at that point to be distracted by the flashy quick fixes in the diets. They go, no, I'm not a person who diets. I wrote, I have a healthy relationship with food. Well, that's not somebody who diets. So I'm going to take my time and develop a healthy relationship with food. And there's the hard work of it. So the first thing I would tell your listeners is, don't change a thing about what you eat right now. Who are you around food? Who are you around exercise? What kind of husband, wife, partner are you ideally? What kind of parent are you ideally? I walk in this is what I did for myself. This is not a joke. This is exactly what happened.
Yes.
I would walk in the door at the end of the day from a stressful day at work with my phone in my hand, and I would barely say hi to my kids and wife. And I thought, this is not who I am. I didn't think I was a bad father. I thought, I'm not the father I know I am.
Yeah.
I had to eat crow a little bit and say, this is not okay. This is not who I am. So I said, I pictured I'm the guy who walks in the door at the end of the day, puts his phone on the counter, and hangs out with his wife and child. My wife works at home, so she's and I spend time with, and I really pictured what that was. I quantified it. I knew exactly what that was. Then I said, okay, there's my direction. Now, what do I do? Stop listening to news on the way home. Stop listening to anything negative on the way home. Started breathing. I pulled in my driveway and would take 5 deep breaths before I got out of the car. I had a client recently. He would get out of his truck and walk for a minute in his driveway. Just walk. End of the day, stressful job. Just take a 1-minute walk, then go in the door. And that's when you can act, is when you know where you want to go. You got to know where you want to go first. We always skip right to the act. We skip to the diet, we skip to the exercise, but we don't know necessarily who we really are in that equation. That's the single most important thing. Mind first, then body second. And that's what I would recommend your listeners is take the time, think about it first before you do big changes.
I think this is awesome and amazing. Man. And Cedric, I know he's excited. I'm excited. And just thinking about applying the small steps, like you said, starting with ideally. And you said something a few minutes ago when you were talking about how you used to come home as a husband, as a father. I would come home on the phone and I'm this, and this, and I'm barely focusing and spending time with them. And you said that in the mind, you realized that, this is not the husband that I am. I know this is not the husband that I am. So then you did a small step, such as putting your phone away. And as you were talking about that, I just thought about the couple is, feeling that stress or things are always out of whack. And it's because I'm not whoever I am. I'm not being the wife that I know I am. I'm not being the husband that I know I am. And it was something so small that just turned all of that around. And I think that is so encouraging because someone that's listening needs to hear that. It's just that one thing that can turn the relationship around for you to give you the control to be that husband that you want to be, that father that you are, that wife that you are, that mother that you are. Just something so small. Somebody that's listening, that's going to free them today, giving yourself that moment. Whether it's 5 deep breaths, walking around the car, or going to take the shower first before you do anything, whatever, just something to give yourself that transition and definitely removing some of the negativity from the atmosphere before you're going home to spend time with your family so that you can produce who you know that you are. And I love the idea. You said the idea with the blanket over my head, what is my ideal life? I'm like, I'm gonna have to do that. I have to do that exercise so that I can see what I write down and what I come up with.
It's pretty great. And I will tell you the phrase I actually use with clients is called, I say, stealing moments. I call it stealing. I steal. You have to steal because they're not giving to you.
Yes.
Nobody at work goes, hey, go outside and take 5 minutes and just think about stuff, right? We have all these external expectations. So you steal it. I'm stealing this moment. I'm taking this moment, that 1 minute walk around my truck, right? And I've had clients literally use if their marriage is kind of weird, and let's say they get into a routine where they get home and they make dinner and they sit in front of the TV. I had a client one time actually did a small step of 5 minutes talking with her spouse before the TV went on. So they didn't take the show away that they always watch, but they just 5 minutes. And there's magic in these moments. It's somebody goes 5 minutes, but spend 5 minutes just talking to your spouse. And that, if you have kids and jobs, that 5 minutes, you may not be spending anywhere near that 5 minutes. To grab those moments makes a difference. And it does change the quality. I think we think too big. We think, we got to go on a trip together. Well, okay, but that's 4 months away. What happens in those 4 months up to that trip? You're going to just sacrifice your whole marriage because you can't get to the vacation yet? Or I got to go to this health retreat. I got to go to this meditation retreat. What about today? What about today? What about taking a deep breath? And that's your meditation starting today. One deep breath, one conscious deep breath, one calming deep breath that you begin the habit of and grow that into meditation over time. I don't want to wait for a 10-day thing once a year. I want a good marriage today. I want to spend time with my wife today. I don't want to wait for that, the 3-day trip that we take once a year. It's not worth it.
Amazing. I want to do this real quick. That maybe someone stumbles upon this podcast. So there's a listener right now that's not married, don't have any kids, and they just trying to educate themselves. And they may be listening like, oh, maybe this podcast here, this episode is not for me. I want you to talk to that individual and tell them why they're in the right place.
Well, I think that everybody has relationships, regardless of whether they're a parent or a spouse or a partner or whatever. I think that everyone has relationships. We have jobs, we work with people, we have friends, we have family that is blood, and we have family that we choose. And then we do better in our lives when we're the better version of ourselves most days. Yeah. If somebody's worried about they haven't found somebody to spend the rest of their lives with, I'm still going to say who you attract is based on how you feel about yourself. You know, we've all heard about people who are in dysfunctional relationships and they go from one after the other. And to me, that's a self-fix this thing. Who in your ideal idea, who are you with? What is the person ideally that you're with? Who is the person that is attracted to you? Who are the person that you're attracted to? That's how you might have a relationship you might have a series of relationships for 20 years. You're always going out with the same guy or woman who's not nice to you, doesn't respect you, and you keep going to that same pattern. Well, you break that pattern by saying, this is who I am. Yes. I'm with somebody who treats me well and loves me for who I am. And I am this way because I also take care of myself and I demand, in a way in my life, this is the control Cedric was talking about. I demand this respect. I have an ethic of self-care, and because it starts with me, then I demand that of other people. And that's how you emerge in the world and notice when you're falling back into that old habit of junk food, or in this case, the bad relationship. I always say, I've seen this movie before. I know how it ends. I'm going to steer over here because that's not who I am anymore. Or no, I would say it's not who I ever was. So then I get to go over here. And over time, it takes time. It's not overnight, but it takes time. And you just kind of keep kind of moving over here, but you're very clear. You know, I have clients who keep that ideal idea. They write it down. They keep it in their pocket. Isn't that amazing? They keep it in their pocket because it's this is reminder. They feel in their pocket. This is who I am. So when they're coming up to junk food, they might have it, but they might go, you know what? I'm only doing this right now because I'm in a bad mood and had a bad day at work. I don't really want this. Tomorrow, maybe I'm in a good mood. It's a treat. Okay, cool. But today, this is just a reaction, emotional thing. Let me go for a walk instead. Tomorrow, I'll have the junk food for fun. Right. And they get to be controlled. I don't tell people not to eat junk food. I just want it to be a choice. I want them to feel good about their actions. So there's no regret or shame afterwards. That's all. And that comes from knowing who you are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Sid, so you have written 3 books. You've written 3 books. Tell us the title of your books and tell us just a little bit about those books.
Okay. So the first one's called Approaching the Natural, a Health Manifesto. And super quick, that came out of my early frustration as a nutritionist. People weren't sticking with my recommendations. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is a way bigger picture than food. This is about stress and all that was my first foray into the small steps. Only 1 chapter is on nutrition and food, because every other chapter is all the other things that we do, how we socialize, how we create, how we move our bodies, all these kinds of things. I separated into physical nutrition and mental nutrition, two parts of the book. Second book, Raising Healthy Parents, Small Steps, Less Stress, and a Thriving Family. That again, seeing clients whose a major source of their stress were their children. They love their kids, but it was just the family dynamic. And I realized there's a hole here. There's thousands and thousands of parenting books. Here's how you should talk to your 6-year-old. I'm like, what if you're in a bad mood? Where's the book that helps somebody take care of themselves so they can do that? So that was Raising Healthy Parents. And I really had high hopes for that book, and it did okay, but not great, because it's the harder work. Yeah. If you just say, talk to your 6th grader like this, they go, okay, I'll just say, right. But this is the harder work. Third book, 6 Truths, which is again, distilling, simplifying, follow these things, understand. And I got to tell you something, and I'm not advising anybody to do this. I did it because of just my practice, but I quit all social media in 2018. I mean, I deleted it, done. And I'm not telling people to do that, but I'm telling people to understand there's a lot of negativity in that thing. There's a lot of vitriol and anger and fighting and comparing. A major source of anxiety and depression for children, 10 to 19. One of the leading causes of death in this country is suicide for these kids. It's a nightmare. And so to understand what that is and to use it sparingly, just like junk food, is a big thing. And one of my truths in that book is social media ain't social. You know,
oh, wow.
Us conversing together. This is social. Being with family. This is how we're designed as human beings. We are tribal. We like to be and talk to people. Social media doesn't do that for us. And so to understand that, then you say, okay, let me do a little bit of that, but then come back. You know, don't do it all the time. Spend more time with my kids, my wife, my coworkers, my friends. Social media once in a while, you know, to really understand kind of where that is. So I honed in on those things in 6 truths.
If someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Well, I have 3 major places. So the first is sidgarza-hillman.com. That's where sort of the portal. You can see my YouTube videos, my podcast, and it sort of starts from there. You can go out. My podcast is everywhere, and the YouTube's obviously on YouTube. That's the first place. And then I've got my 12-week online Small Steppers program, and that's smallsteppers.com. There's a free 6-part video series. They can learn all about it. And if they want to sign up for it, they can do that. If they want private coaching, which some people just want the accountability and be able to work with me one-on-one because they really are in that place where they're like, I got to get this done for real. Smallstepintensive.com, smallstepintensive.com. So those are the 3 major places. And if you're ever in the area, I work at the Stanford Inn and I run a wellness center. It's a beautiful resort on the coast, and you'll find me wandering around the lobby on occasion.
Oh man. Amazing, amazing, amazing. On behalf of the TMC community, we want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
You guys are super fun. I feel like can we just do this for like 7 more hours? I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
No, it was really nice that you guys are so, you really captured, you have great questions, and you obviously seasoned veterans because you did this really well. So anyway, it was very fun to spend time with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed the information you heard in this video, go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button, turn on your notifications so you'll be notified when we upload a video every week. And if you're listening on iTunes, rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps us get the word out. And we want to invite you to head on over to our leadership podcast, Lead to Greatness, where my husband is interviewing entrepreneurs and great leaders every week.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on TMC. Looking forward to hanging out with you again on next week as we continue to help you take your relationship from surviving to thriving. Bye. See you next week.